Good morning everyone. In this video I'm going to analyze the live price action for EU and DXY to see what opportunities might be available for today. You're going to see my strategy and my analysis, so if you're interested in those then please stick around. Right, as always, starting off here on the daily, EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. So zoomed out for the moment just so we can see all of the price action. As you can see, we dipped down into our daily imbalance / order block here on EU, and yesterday we closed out as a bearish but doji, right? So again, shows some kind of deceleration because we've taken buy side liquidity and sell side liquidity and closed out sort of near the open. So some possible signs of deceleration here at this imbalance and order block. Inversely, on DXY, of course, we closed out with a bullish doji. We went and filled this initial fair value gap imbalance here. However, above, as I've shown here, we still have a price gap, right, which is also an imbalance. So price may want to fill that area. So just zooming in into our current leg. On the daily also, we have our previous daily highs and lows on both, which are still very intact. We are in our bearish leg and we are possibly showing some deceleration at the lows here. So not much else to discuss on the daily, hasn't changed much since yesterday. So let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that shows. So onto the 4 hour, you can see we still have our bearish leg here. Now, I mentioned deceleration on the higher time frame, and I think it's becoming a bit more obvious as we go down into the 4 hour and when we go even lower into the 1 hour. So I mentioned yesterday, you can see these candles are getting shorter. I think the deceleration is becoming even more evident here at these lows. Price looks like it's sticking around, possibly creating a range on the even lower time frames. So what happened yesterday, if we just zoom in on this price action here, is that, we had a bullish reaction. We failed to make a new high so far, and then internally this would have taken some buy side liquidity, and of course we came down bearish again, sweeping our internal low from this day. Now we rejected that. We closed out, of course, on the 4 hour candle as a rejection, as a low test, and price is still around this area. So we have taken sell side liquidity most recently on the higher time frame, which would indicate now price is going to seek out buy side liquidity, right? If we go over to the DXY for the moment, same thing happened. You can see we swept buy side liquidity, closed out as this high test candle. Price is sticking around this area, but naturally, as we've taken buy side liquidity, price may head for sell side liquidity, right? So no telling how far it will go. We've still got the rest of this imbalance and order block here that we could possibly fill. And we've also got the price gap here that may attract price. However, at the moment, you can see we are having a bearish and bullish reaction around this area. So at least for the time being, we may head for previous daily high, right, and previous daily lows on DXY, or some sort of internal liquidity that could be the driver for, more bearish price action on EU maybe. However, yes, I do believe we are showing signs of deceleration at these lows in this discount, and we have swept some sell side liquidity. Let's go down to the 1 hour and see what this looks like. So again, here on the 1 hour, I'm going to keep mentioning this deceleration that I think we're having because I think it's even clearer on the 1 hour. We had this possible 1 hour bearish leg here. We swept some internal sell side liquidity, obviously, had our bullish run. Took some internal buy side liquidity, had our bearish run. Took some sell side liquidity from below those lows yesterday, and obviously overnight, we create that sort of Asia range. Now into today, we've taken that Asia sell side liquidity here internally. Price is now having some sort of bullish reaction. We're 9 minutes away from this 1 hour candle closing, and you can see it is a bullish engulfing. So what I like when we do start to possibly create these ranges, especially on the 1 hour, we're creating a lot of a tighter range here. So it's much easier for there to be, sell side liquidity swept, and then we can have a nice bullish run and it will look like an internal 1 hour break. We're still in this bearish leg here, but we're creating some sort of range within it now. No telling how long the range will last. However, we could sweep one side of the range and target the other side of the range. And it also, obviously, as I mentioned, helps for the possible reversal, right? Because now once we get a tight range here, once we break that structure, we can have more confidence in trading against the previous bearish trend, because now we've broken out of a range to the upside if that happens. you can see the same thing is happening obviously on DXY here. So we had some SMC divergence between this high and a higher high, and this low and a high low. So while this swept buy side liquidity to make that bullish run, this made the higher low showing strength and obviously went and targeted that buy side liquidity. So this 1 hour candle is looking really strong at the moment. Not much to go through again at this 1 hour stage, apart from that we're creating some sort of internal range and we just need to wait for further price action. But it's more than likely we're going to target some buy side liquidity either above here on this buy side liquidity above the Asia range or the previous daily high, as we're taking a more external low here yesterday, so we might reach up to this external high here on the lower time frames. So let's go down to the M15 and see what opportunities there may be for today. So here we are. What have we got to work with on the M15? This is the possible 1 hour bearish recent leg here and the range that we're working within that. So the M15, as you can see, I think Frankfurt swept these Asia lows, right? Swept that low from Asia. We took out this low, this previous low here, and we're having that bullish reaction as usual with the cycle. If we take one side of Asia, we usually go to the other side of the range. So now technically, of course, depending on how we close, we may sweep this buy side liquidity and come back on ourselves here. We can see DXY done the same. We took out these highs here and had this bearish reaction heading towards the previous daily low. Now on DXY, of course, there may be some divergence occurring. This may catch up, but we're not sure. This is very close to its previous daily low. So we may see some sweep or mitigation of this previous daily low sell side liquidity while EU doesn't exactly make it towards that previous daily high on that same high here. So you may see some SMC divergence indicating some weakness on EU, at least for the short term. So at the moment, there's nothing that I could say is looking like the highest of quality just because of the way we are in this range. But there is some possibility here on this internal price action depending on how it forms, right? So of course we've got our M15 order block here with its imbalance that's been left behind here after the sweep of some sell side liquidity. Now the major negative when coming back to this is now we've swept this buy side liquidity. This may even close out as a rejection. So any type of pullback here is going to look like we're trading against a clear and obvious negative. So, and that negative is being buy side liquidity, and obviously we are in a bearish trend still. We're still within a bearish leg. Now we did obviously sweep some sell side liquidity sort of external to this yesterday. So you could say we've got some sort of higher time frame driver to target the opposing high. But this high, once swept buy side liquidity, did cause a lower low even though it didn't close beyond it. So this is kind of a 15-minute bearish leg here. If you were to consider an opportunity like this just because of the order block, you could have your stop loss either just below the low here if it's going to hold, or if you're confident in the order block, obviously a lot closer to the order block itself, right? So it's going to be much safer down here, but it's a bigger stop, so you may have to target higher depending on what your risk reward ratio usually is. So something like this of course could work, right? And you could go and target the previous daily high, let's say, and that would be preferable if we close above this high. We'd have our breaker structure, and then you could have some sort of corrective pullback down to our order block there to trade up with. Now we'd have some sort of inducement here. Now this could be valid and could work. Your negative would be, of course, trading with a bullish EU, that we're obviously going to take this previous daily low sell side liquidity, so you'd expect some sort of pullback from here, especially if it meets that first. Now if we hit this first before the pullback, then that's another negative stacked on top. So like I said, it's looking like an average trade, right? This is just seeing an order block and lower time frame pattern. So yeah, it's not the best, but it could possibly pay out. So that's what I meant by that. I see average trades right now because we're dealing with this range. So you might want to wait for the continuation of that trade. So if I bring that back for a second there, you may actually want to wait for price to break out, break above one of its 5-minute or 15-minute structures like this, and then you could possibly get in on a pullback within that, right, to go higher. So you could use that as some sort of confirmation that, oh, we've broken structure again internally, and you could have your other order block down here, right? So that's something we'd refer to as like a continuation trade. You may even get a higher high at this point here, which would be even better obviously, and then you get another pullback into this leg here. So that would be a confirmation, something a bit safer for you to consider. You could get the smaller stop loss as well as the confidence from trading, you know, after a continuation, after another break of structure, and then you could also target that high. So that would be a more confident way of trading it. However, you may miss the boat if it happens, and then again, of course, you still have the same negatives and you could lose this trade, but it's whatever matches your plan and your comfort levels. Now at the same time, now that we've taken this buy side liquidity here from Asia, of course this could become a driver for lower prices. Like I said, we still have this bearish leg, we still have the higher time frame imbalance order block to fill, right? We still have this price gap above here to attract price, so still with trend. Now what I wouldn't prefer is for price to come and take this previous daily low, right, because then it would have also taken this previous daily high on DXY most likely and come into that price gap. So that would be a bit of a major negative to be trading short against, unless, you know, price action was very clear, very bearish, closing below these. But what I would like would be for price around this area now to just create some sort of structure, whether it sweeps this high or not, breaks down again, leaving behind something for us to trade from. Then we could trade it down with the direction that price is going, with the trend, buy side liquidity sweep, break of structure, a decent corrective pullback hopefully, so that would be some sort of inducement there, and then we have our order block or imbalance to set our order from to continue with the trend. So this is like, again, just more internal trading, which is what we can do within this range here. And I do have a bit lower confidence trading these type of trades while we're in this range. So obviously these could all happen up here, right, which would be great and more with plan, because this is that good buy side liquidity. We would have taken good sell side liquidity from here, and you know, you're at the extremes of the range. So this is where I would see the more high quality confident trading coming from, right? We come up here, take that buy side liquidity, break structure, pull back, and we could get that continuation in that direction, right? So hopefully we would be rejecting this high here, some sort of high test. We would have some structure to break down from and continue lower. And then again on the other side, you'd probably want to see something like this as well, where you break above that high, pull back to the low and trade upwards, right? So then we would have our breaker structure around here from whatever structure we created, inducement for our corrective pullback here, order block and imbalance here, and we could just set our order from these lows if price rejects the low and trade upwards towards the other side of the range. So those would probably look better than the internal ones, because you'd have a bit more confidence, you'd have some more high time frame POIs on your side, you'd have some sort of external liquidity on your side. The PDH and PDL are better liquidity areas, right, than just the M15 highs and lows internal to that. You know, these external highs and lows on the M15 would be much better drivers for price. So that's all the scenarios that I can see. I hope that was clear. Hope I didn't repeat myself too much and you gained value from that. Any questions, let me know in the comments. I appreciate all of you that have made it to the end of this video. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.